Well, welcome everyone. If you were here, you got to hear a little bit of our chat. Sorry about that as we were getting things ready and set up. Tonight, we are talking about everyone needing a backup plan, or everyone needs a backup plan.
Who is the PA Family Network? A program for Vision for Equality funded by the Office of Developmental Programs. Family members and individuals with IDD across the Commonwealth, diverse life experience, and life course ambassadors, or soon to become life course ambassadors. What? What does the VA Family Network do? Workshops for families, offers technical assistance to ODP, Office of Developmental Programs, mentoring families and their loved ones, advise team mentoring, and a family advisor and an advisor with IDD. System navigation, developing, identifying supports and services.
Absolutely. It's important to note that PA Family Network advisors are not advocates, but we're here to help assist families and their loved ones in that navigating, planning, and problem solving that Gabe said.
Yes.
So why we're here is, and I'm just going to read this quickly, for individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. That's the IDD acronym that Gabe was mentioning a minute ago. The role of family is unique and often central in the support and care provided across the lifespan. Family members play key roles in identifying and securing opportunities for their family members to participate in meaningful ways within their community and ensuring access to self-determined lives. That quote, whoops, sorry, hit the wrong button. That quote is from the Wingspread Report, which was the Wingspread Conference, which came about from the Wingspread Conference that was held in 2011. And that conference really had the intent of building a national agenda for supporting families with a member with intellectual and developmental disabilities. The national community of practice for supporting families grew from that initiative, and Pennsylvania joined Supporting Families Community of Practice in 2016. So as we get started with everyone needing a backup plan, we need to set the stage of an everyday life for a person with a disability. And really, how does a person truly live a self-determined life with activities that they enjoy while they're staying safe and healthy? Participant direction is one of the best ways to make that happen. However, participant direction, which is also called self-direction, comes with responsibilities and requirements. In order to make that self-direction work, we need to first talk about what it is. So participant direction services, and this is a quote, in accordance with the principles of self-determination, choice, and control, the Office of Developmental Programs has made participant direction services, or PDS, available. And participant direction, also referred to as self-direction, allows individuals to have more control over where, when, and how some of their services and supports are delivered. That information is directly from the Department of Human Services webpage under Intellectual Disability Services and Participant Direction. That link at the bottom in blue on your slides that you should have received in an email this morning, that is a clickable link, so you can use that document when you pull it up and click that to be able to take you directly to that webpage if you choose to read more on that.
Making the most of ideas, creativity, opportunities, and planning. While participant direction is one of the best ways to make an everyday life happen, it has certain responsibilities and even challenges. We would be discussing one of the toughest challenges, backup plans. There are no easy answers.
That is
Sometimes you have to plan for the unexpected.
absolutely, and it is the truth. There is no easy answer, right?
No. What we're here to talk about today, We're here to talk about today the importance of a backup plan, looking at resources, brainstorming and creating backups. Let's let's go over a few basics. Chris?
And before we do that, we have lots of acronyms for you. We're not going to cover every single one of them, but know that when we talk about PDS, we're talking about participant directed services. That's the whole plan for tonight. And then surrogate is a person that's acting on behalf of someone else. At the bottom, participant is the person that is receiving services. And then agency with choice is AWC. There are 20 AWCs that are statewide. Every administrative entity or joiner has one, except Carbon Monroe Pike, which has two actually there. And then vendor fiscal or employer agent, which is VF/EA. There's one statewide currently now. But know that if we have that abbreviation, that acronym out there, then you will know what that means. In addition, we have a couple more here. Where I'm just going to mention the SSP, support service professional, which is terminology that is used within participant direction. And then the ISP, or the individual support plan. So those are some of the most common acronyms that we will say as we are going through the presentation. So the waivers tonight that we will be talking about are the person family directed support waiver, and that is a lot of times abbreviated the PFDS. That has a $41,000 cap. The community living waiver, or CLW, has an $85,000 cap. And we'll also be discussing the consolidated waiver, which has no identified cap, but just like the other two waivers, it is based on assessed needs. So if it's not written into your ISP, your individual support plan, that it is a need, then you will not receive a service for it. So we'll be referring to different ways of having services delivered. First is the traditional model. And many families are very content to have a traditional model. It's often the least time intensive. And when we talk about participant directed services, know that it's absolutely a personal choice, whether you choose to self-direct or if you want to go with a traditional model. So know that we give you the caps on those waivers that I just flipped, that screen that I just flipped from, just in case you know that that's the amount that you have and you don't necessarily know the name of your waiver. So the traditional model of receiving services is that the person selects a provider from willing and qualified providers that are in your area. And then the agency makes all the staffing decisions, does all the hiring, training, manages the staff, and all the scheduling for that staff. And the primary responsibility for implementing the individual support plan is that provider's. Participant direction, on the other hand, the person that's receiving services or their surrogate is directly and their surrogate, if they have one, is directly involved in the hiring or the selection of support people to help them. That person, and if they have a surrogate, will directly manage, schedule, and train support staff. And that person will also directly determine how to achieve the outcomes that are listed in their ISP. So know that all of this information has been adapted from the Temple Institute on Disabilities and Values into Action Support Broker Training. Gabriel, are you going to take this one or do you want me to do it?
It's your slide, actually.
Okay. So there are two styles of participant direction. And as I mentioned earlier, it's also called self-direction. The first on the left-hand side is agency with choice. And remember, I just mentioned that there were 20 different agency with choice providers across the state. This is commonly referred to as AWC, and the participant and or their surrogate and an agency work together as the employer. In the vendor fiscal or employer agent model, that's a lot of times referred to as the VF or EA, also called PALCO currently. The person, the participant, and their surrogate are the employer. They essentially handle everything. So this is just a quick review for anyone that is not familiar with this. Both types of self-direction let the participant and their surrogate create their own schedules. What they self-direct depends on what is identified in that ISP as a need.
And reference, in agency with choice, AWC, the participant and surrogate is the managing employer, ME, and vendor fiscal employer agent, VF/EA, for my acronyms. The participant surrogate is the common law employer, CLE. Backup plan, aka contingency plan. A backup plan is required in both self-direct models. Even though if you use a traditional model, you should always have a backup plan.
Absolutely, because you never know what's going to happen if there's bad weather like I have tonight, accidents, flat tires, whatever it may be, right?
It could be any particular reason.
So what is your backup plan? So let's look at a scenario. Your family uses self-direction and you're ready to head to work, but your SSP calls. That's your support service.
Or service professional.
Professional, thank you. And as I got all tongue-tied, they unfortunately just got sick. They fell ill. What do you do? Do you make them come in anyway? And what if they're contagious? What if they have the flu and they make everyone in your house sick? Or what if they make your loved one sick because your loved one has a weakened immune system? And then you may end up with a hospital visit, which is not going to be any good for anybody. And you're going to struggle through that because you may be missing work anyway. But if they end up coming in and getting your whole house sick, you're going to miss even more work, right? Do you call off work for the third time this month? Which isn't a good thing. Is your employer going to like that? Are you going to end up getting fired because you've called off for the third time? How many times that you actually call off definitely impacts your reviews, your connections, or your performance within your job, and how long before you actually lose that job. Or do you call a backup SSP and get to work a little bit late? You may be late, but you are there, and you could call your boss and say, listen, my staff just called in sick. I'm waiting for someone to get here. I will be a half an hour late, but I will be there. That is the best option out of these because you do have that backup plan. You have staff that is available to call in case of an emergency, that you can be able to utilize those people, and you don't have to miss work and potentially risk getting fired. Part of the responsibility of enrolling as either a managing employer, that ME, or a common law employer, CLE, is to provide a backup plan when you are enrolling. So this is addressed as part of the enrollment packet. And for most families, this is truly the toughest part of filling out that packet, especially when you are first starting out in self-direction. It can be really hard to think about people that you can use as a backup or resources to use as supports. So this is a sample of what backup plan paperwork may look like. This is included right in that enrollment packet, and you have to complete this as you are filling out all of those enrollment papers. Please note that it is required as part of the packet and offers you the option to fill out this sheet for one individual to provide backup services. So you may have more than one person here, and that's great to be able to have, because that gives you more options if you do need to utilize them. Some options are a qualified SSP, and we'll talk more about that later, but you may need to fill out several of these papers because you have additional SSPs that you have utilized in the past that have agreed to stay on as a backup for you. Another option is a natural support that you have in your life. And we know and understand that this term really makes people uncomfortable because not everyone has family or a big circle of friends, myself included. We don't have a large family to be able to tap into as backups if we need them. But sometimes we can simply call this unpaid support. And we'll discuss more about unpaid supports as we go through this presentation. You also have the option of a traditional provider, an agency who will provide support to fill in as a backup. And that can be tough in many areas due to staffing shortages, but it is an option to look at as you start to fill these papers out. We are not downplaying the problems. We understand that there's staffing shortages and that some families don't have a lot of family or friends that are close by to be able to utilize. But we are identifying the fact that the health and the safety of that person that is enrolled, that participant must always be foremost. We need to look for solutions as self-advocates, families, providers, and a system. And sometimes families are confused by having to fill in an itemized section such as this one on the screen now. The intent is that if something catastrophic should occur, such as an accident, a fire, or you as a caregiver incapacitated, where the common law employer or other supports who know the situation are unavailable, the supports coordinator can pick this paper up and say, okay, it's Tuesday at 4 p.m. On this sheet, they have this person written in that is available on those Tuesdays, on that Tuesday during that time frame. I can call them and see if they can be a backup for the hour that they're available, to make sure that that person has coverage and has staff, so that that family doesn't have to worry and can do the things that are needed. An example of this would be like if you were going as a caregiver, or myself going into the emergency department, and I wasn't able to speak, or was very ill, and I couldn't make those phone calls to be able to have coverage for somebody to watch my son. The supports coordinator could pull this sheet out and be able to see what day and time it is to potentially call some of those backups that you have listed, to see if somebody could watch him while I was in the emergency room getting taken care of myself.
And also building a really good system with the supports coordinator, like a relationship and communication is definitely key in a backup plan.
Absolutely. Yep. So that backup, when they call, the person that has agreed to back up staff, their responsibilities are to indicate that the backup will be responsible for doing support that is filled in within the ISP. And there will be specific duties that backup will be able to do and can be identified by the outcomes in the ISP or by a separate sheet of detailed responsibilities. So different entities may handle this a little bit differently. Different AWCs, agencies with choice, may have different formats. And traditional providers may just utilize the ISP but everyone has that health and safety at the forefront, the health and safety of that person at the forefront when they are looking for backups. So I'm not going to read this, but you can see that this is the attestation that the person that is going to be a backup has to agree to and sign within this documentation. You can see that ODP, the Office of Developmental Programs, takes this very seriously. So it's not something that it's just going to be thrown out there and nobody has any responsibilities or anything. It's they do look at it very seriously, and that backup support has to sign that paper agreeing to be that backup.
Backup plan development. There are 3 types of backup: qualified support professional, support service professional, SSP, traditional agency, natural supports, quotation marks, unpaid supports. They all have their ups and downs. Support service professional, SSP. A qualified support service professional is someone hired and trained by the managing employer or the common law employer, already familiar with the individual receiving service. This you can discuss with SSPs about becoming a backup plans, becoming a part of the backup plan, and it also can be a benefit.
Absolutely.
Traditional agency. Some participants and surrogates have been able to arrange backup plans with traditional agencies for certain contingencies. Often this does not include last-minute crisis, but may include vacations or leave by SSP, support service professional. Plans are flexible, typically made in advance, although some are more flexible. Is there anything you want to add, Chris?
No.
Unpaid. Oh, that's you. Oops.
Go ahead. You can read it. I can
I'm good.
So the unpaid support and resources can include, but is not limited to, immediate and extended family, friends, people within our community, anyone who might be in the relationship. Wow. Let me try that again. Anyone who might be in the relationship segment of your integrated support star. And we know that not everyone is fortunate enough to have a lot of natural supports or unpaid supports. It is something that many of us as family members and self-advocates need to cultivate. What is important to remember is that asking for help is not a failing. Sometimes we just need 20 or 30 minutes of backup coverage, and there may be folks that can do just that amount that couldn't do a full shift or even 2 hours, but they'd be willing to do 20 minutes to give you enough time to be able to get home from your job and working late, so that your loved one is taken care of and has coverage. In the meantime, we need to try and cultivate resources and create possibilities. And we know that it's not easy, and we're not trying to imply that it is, but we'll give you a few ideas in some of the future slides. And natural and unpaid supports. Really, while a family member or a legal guardian may be hired under self-direction or act as a managing employer or common law employer, they may also be the only available backup, especially when you're first starting out with participant-directed services. And when you're starting out, you don't have that opportunity to have prior staff who might pitch hit when needed. And we understand that that is difficult. Self-direction does offer more opportunities in many different ways, but there are responsibilities and challenges. such as having these backups, especially when you are first starting out. So in your planning, if you look at careful and creative planning, that can sometimes help to impact the need for long lists of unpaid supports as backup. And really, there will nearly always be a need for unpaid support. And we know that, not a lot of families, not every family has a lot of those unpaid supports, but our intent here is to look at ways to create a workable, safe backup plan for that family and the individual while still meeting the responsibilities and the requirements of the participant direction.
Backup plans, support service professional SSP, natural supports, unpaid supports, thinking outside the box. Sorry for the burp. When you are hiring, identify possibilities for flexibility in scheduling. Maybe you can hire someone for 9 to 3 for 3 days a week. Find out if they are flexible to stay later if there is a traffic jam or a snowstorm. Like a traffic jam, like you're on your way home from work and you need the person to stay a while. Maybe like say 30 minutes if they don't mind staying extra.
Yeah, because we are in Pennsylvania, right? We get a lot of
Yeah.
snowstorms.
We get a lot of snowstorms and traffic jams. I mean,
Yeah.
there's always construction.
Yep. And those snowstorms in winter are hard. And if they don't clean the roads, then you could be running a little bit late, and that's understandable. So if someone has that flexibility to stay a little bit late, that is great. And it's not going to happen all the time. But if they have that flexibility to stay every once in a while, in the case of a traffic jam or snowstorm, that really helps.
Oh yeah, especially communication. Keep a calendar of potential needed dates for everyone to see, like especially if SSPs need to go on vacation. Share phone numbers for those comfortable for sudden emergencies. Sometimes a trade is easier than a backup.
Gabe, can you share what you do with phone numbers? Do you remember?
What we do in our family is everybody has like we add everybody's phone number almost because everybody's willing to share. And what like let's just say typical as my mom would say, Dad's on his way home from work. He'll be in to watch Billy, but he's running a little bit late. He's stuck in traffic, and and Mom says I'm on my way back from on Interstate 80, and there's always construction. She's in a construction zone. So she would ask me could you cover until Dad gets home? And I said, yeah, sure. She sent me a text.
Even having your staff share phone numbers sometimes is good too, because then you're
Yes,
not playing middleman, right? And then
yes,
they can talk to one another and make sure that your loved one has their coverage that they need as well.
yes. Usually my mom will connect to Billy's SSP
Yeah.
and she'll say, "Can you let Gabe know if he doesn't mind coming in when you leave at 4?"
Yep, absolutely. All right, so we have another scenario of a college student. So Jane was hired to be an SSP while she was at the local community college. She was in school, going to college there. She is now going 2 hours away to school instead of being at that local community college. And she turned in her resignation to you. Do you thank her and take her resignation? You could, right? And you send her on her way and wish her well, and then you never see her again. Do you feel angry that she decided to go so far away from a good job, or upset that she's leaving, but you don't really say anything about it? Or do you offer to keep her active as a backup? Wow. Do you offer to keep her active as a backup SSP for summers and other breaks that she may be home and be able to step in as a backup if it's needed? This is a really great example and a way to build social capital for your loved one and build your list of backup providers. Is just, instead of taking that resignation and saying, best wishes, see you later, offer to keep them active as just the backup. And if you need them when they are home, when they are available, they would have to give you their schedule, so when they are going to be in the area. But that really gives you a great list of backup providers that can help you out during those times that they are there, if you absolutely need someone.
And you can also make sure you say thank you. And
Absolutely.
I do have an offer.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So as staff leaves, this is what I was just mentioning, keep them active as backup workers, if at all possible. And if they're leaving on bad terms and it didn't work out well, then that's one thing. But if everything has worked out well and they're leaving for reasons other than the job, like I just mentioned, going to college, potentially moving away, whatever the case may be, keep them active if they are going to come back into that area that you live, because they know the person. They know your routines already, and they know your family. So that's half the battle, is somebody learning all the ins and outs of what's going on in your family dynamic. And if you have staff that already knows that, or a backup that already knows that, then you don't have to teach someone new that could come in just for a short period of time. So what is your experience in utilizing friends and family as a natural support? And as I've said all along, we understand it's not always easy. Natural supports are described as the personal associations and relationships developed in the community that enhance the quality and security of life for people. These supports are typically unpaid. Natural supports is a really tough topic, and I've said that all along. We understand that. But discussing that definition of the term and talking about natural or unpaid supports can be a good thing. Although not readily available for everyone, natural supports may need to be cultivated. So, looking at friends and family, one of the most frustrating things to deal with as a caregiver are the reactions from people that are close to you who don't understand your ins and outs and day-to-day reality of what you and your loved one need to do during your day, the routines that you have, or the things that need to take place or happen. A lot of times you can have caregiver criticism, and some of that feedback may be well-intended, and the person that you're speaking to will understand when you help them to understand the reality of what you do every day. Sometimes friends and family expect too much from your loved one, and they don't understand your loved one's limitations, thinking that they're withdrawing by choice or simply not trying to help them participate in activities. And that person might be disappointed or even blame you when your loved one can't participate in the kinds of activities that they think they should, or that you used to enjoy. And finally, they may expect too little from your loved one, or exclude them, and by extension, you, from family gatherings or from any gathering or other events, due to the assumption that they are unable to participate at all. And they may assume that your loved one is embarrassed by their condition or would want to hide from others. And they themselves may feel uncomfortable or unsure how to act around that person you're caring for and try to avoid them. So a way to change that thought process in those types of people in those types of scenarios is to ask for company. Have someone that comes in to shadow you while you go through your caregiving routine. That can be a really good experience for both of you. Not only does it give you as a person somebody to talk to about your day and what's going on, and just random talking and having conversations on random topics, but it allows that person to understand and to witness what goes into caring for your loved one on a daily basis. A lot of times they don't realize what it takes to be able to support your loved one. And is having them see it or shadow you can be a really good way for them to understand what you truly do go through in a day-to-day basis.
Like they're saying, walk a mile in my shoes.
Absolutely. You can also, another way that you can help promote empathy and support is to ask for help with specific tasks. And that can be just a couple of hours of rest, or, whether you're looking at while they are looking after your loved one, or maybe it's assistance with chores like cleaning or grocery shopping. And let me tell you, if somebody comes in and cleans my house, I'd be all for it. But, sharing, even because somebody coming in and helping me to clean, sharing that task makes that load a lot easier many times. So, just having somebody there with you to talk to while you're doing it is great. Not only will that help prevent burnout, but it will provide the other person with a better sense of your day-to-day responsibilities. And then another way, promoting empathy and support is just to call a friend and talk. It can be really helpful for caregivers to let people know what you've been struggling with. And a lot of times, I know I'm good for it. Somebody will say, "Oh, how are you really?" And my first response is, "Oh, I'm good. Everything's good." And that saying, "I'm good. It's good. Everything's good." When everything's burning down around you. Sometimes that's the way life is, and that's what happens. So if we can call and talk to somebody and be able to get that stress off of our minds, then it will help us out as well. And then accept help when it's offered to you. For many of us, the act of simply accepting caregiving assistance feels like a failure for properly caring for our loved one. And in reality, it's the exact opposite. Accepting that help is an act of strength that lets others participate meaningfully in your life and really strengthens that bond, not only with you, but with your loved one that they are there to support. And just to give you a little laugh, a quick quote or a quick cartoon, and my friend says, "I thought you had it all figured out." And that's, I may look like I have it all figured out, but most times I don't, right?
I say that like to my mom all the time.
A lot of times as caregivers, we turn down assistance, even unconsciously. And it's just automatic for us to say, "Nope, I got it." And it can surprise others when they discover that we don't have it all figured out, but we are truly still working at it. All right. So, if you attended our one workshop on hiring, ideas for hiring and finding staff, this integrated support star came from that, so it should look familiar. For those of you that did not, it will be posted soon on the Office of Developmental Programs Learning Management System, and that workshop will be available to watch on there, so you'll get a good sense of how this star was developed and the information that's on it. Well, one of the points that we emphasized in that workshop from experienced families using participant direction is to use a variety of staff with a variety of talents. So if you're looking at this, you can see, there's a lot of different people and different talents in that relationship section, such as the hairdresser or a nail technician. that may not be able to support our loved one directly, but they may know somebody that's in their network or one of their friends that may be looking for a job, that has worked in that disability community and may be able to step in as a backup as well. So lots of different options to think about, not just specifically the people you know, but looking at people that you know that they know that you may not already know. That's way too many no's that I just said.
Yeah, no kidding.
Look at their networks. The people you know, look at their networks and their friends and the people that they talk to, the different way to word it, and see if there's anybody that they may know that can help support you and your loved one as a backup if you need to have that.
Looking for SSPs and natural supports. Special Olympics, Special Olympics, talking to coaches and other families. Of course, they might know people that might be looking for a job. So that's a perfect way to look around. Challenger baseball or summer activities such as the sunny day camp families. Also, another great resource for ideas of connecting with people. Any agency such as the day program. That's another thought. Therapies, do any of these therapists have connections? So that therapist, your son's therapist might know someone that knows someone that's looking for a job.
Mhm.
Volunteer at a disability specific activities like Best Buddies. You can also look at great opportunities to see great resources to hire SSPs and natural supports. Connection is value. Where to search in the community. Local colleges, universities, trade schools, student service office, such as go to a college or university or trade school and they're in a program, the student might be looking for another job. So that connection builds another connection, which it builds a whole list of other connections. Job placement. You can look at the job placement, such as there's so many advertisements of job placement that you can use. Special education, social work, psychology, therapeutic recreational, nursing, CNA, certified nurse assistant, therapies, occupational therapy, physical therapy, speech therapy, etc. Neighborhood buildings, even posting around your neighborhood if they have a neighborhood bulletin saying that looking for someone to do this, this, and this.
Even posting it online. I have a couple of friends that post on Facebook that they are looking for staff, and list their qualifications and what they need, what they're looking for. Many different options to be able to search for staff and for backup people to be able to support you.
And CareerLink and grocery stores also might be a great resource by
Mhm.
asking the grocery store if you can post it on their bulletin.
Yep.
Gym, YMCA, base groups, social groups, civic organizations, social media contacts. These are great networks to socialize to help get build better connection in the community and
Mhm.
find a great way to hire and train people.
Yep.
Yeah.
So building those resources, ask for help, seek out resources from your own connections, such as doctors, therapists, community faith leaders, like Gabe just mentioned. Always be mindful of people who may be able to offer support, and be present within your community. Go to things, do things within your community all the time. Being able to get out in your community, number one, is great to be able to do things, but that also builds those connections and those natural supports that may be able to help you if you need it. For instance, we have a great scouting program here that we are extremely involved in. And if I absolutely needed help for one reason or another, if it's an hour or 2 hours, I'm sure that somebody in our scouting family, one of the other leaders or one of the other older scouts that are as kind of as mentors to my son would probably step up and be able to be with him, to hang out with him if we absolutely needed it. So we could maybe use one of them or a couple of them as part of our backup plan. More resource ideas: make your house the house where kids want to be. Have the fun things, do what your kids are interested in. Invite people over, make it an accepting space of all children or adults, that you want your loved one to for them to help build those relationships. Make it so that people want to come over and hang out with them. Attend opportunities for learning within your community. You will not only gain valuable resources, but will have the opportunity to meet other families in similar situations. And as they say, like, compare notes. Well, what are you doing? Well, I'm doing this, maybe that may spark a different option for you, or you can tap into that same resource that somebody else is using to be able to be part of your backup plan as well. Learning and sharing are a major part of growing, and there's great comfort and value in getting those connections and maintaining those connections of families that are in similar situations, because they know what we're going through, right? So being able to tap into them and understand what they're going through and what they've done, for their backup plan may give you more ideas to be able to create yours.
Billy would go
Yep.
to the same Walmart person as a cashier
Yes.
at a Walmart, and every day the person would recognize Billy and know Billy, and they would also know what what he's like, and if he needs to take his time to buy
Yeah.
something, they would help him.
Yeah. Wonderful. All right. So another option is to use support broker services. A support broker can assist a person or someone who self-directs services by providing education and support around employer-related responsibilities and with recruiting, hiring, and training staff. But they can also assist in creating that backup plan and help find resources for the family. So it's another option, another idea that you can tap into to be able to help you, especially for those that are just starting out. A supports broker service might be a good option to get your feet wet, for lack of better wording, so that you can learn how things go and what should happen. And then hopefully they'll be able to help you find resources to use for that backup plan. And then one way to look for resources of all kinds, including for your backup plan and being known in your community, is to work with a mentor from PA Family Network, where all family members or individuals with developmental disabilities. So we can work with you to help look outside the normal realm of responses and perhaps look at new opportunities. So when we work with families, we meet them where they are, and what is happening currently in their lives, and be able to move on from that. And then we share information and experiences, really help that family think differently about life experiences and expectations. And then we have a set of tools that are great graphic organizer that we help families work through. They're called the Life Course Tools. And they include the one-page profile or one-page description the trajectory, and the integrated support star that we showed you earlier. If you are interested in connecting with us, our phone number is at the end of this workshop. You can give us a call and let us know that you're interested in mentoring, and they will connect you with one of our advisors. Another option is to do a team mentoring approach, and this can pull all of your teams together, your professional teams, along with your family, and be a gathering of minds and ideas, and really just brings everyone to the table so that everybody's listening to that person that that the plan is written for, and the family on what they want and don't want. And we really focus on finding solutions to problems and not just talking about the problems themselves. And a lot of times when we do this type of team mentoring, ideas that one person may have will spark more ideas from others that are at the table. So it's really great to be able to come together and think outside the box and make sure that we're looking at a lot of different options for the person that everyone is there supporting. We're not here to fix problems or cause more additional problems. We really, as mentors and family advisor mentors, we facilitate that conversation and give options and help push them to explore other possibilities. So that can be a way to come up with different ideas for backup plans, or different backup staff to be able to create your backup plan as you're going through that enrollment process. And then just as a reminder, our advisors are, we have lived family experience and provide information and experiences through our family lens, and what we've been through already. So we show them how we've done it and how other family advisors or other families we've worked with have done it, but we're not going to tell anyone exactly how to do it, because there is no right or wrong answers. And it is an organic process, and there is what is good for one family may not be good for another. So we meet those families where they are and understand where they're coming from and their frustrations and hopefully their celebrations, and we be able to record all of that information in those graphic organizers to be able to document what they want for their loved one. And we are mentors, so we are not advocates, and nor can we advocate for families, but really just share information. Excuse me.
Being known a backup plan. Backup plans are easier when you are known in the community. Local events, Special Olympics or unified sports, in family, in faith, in your faith community, at the grocery store, whether interests are expressed by the participant.
Yep.
Being
So
known and, of course, being recognized.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, go ahead.
Tying it all together. So we've talked about the plan and where to maybe find it, different supports. So now let's pull it all together, right? So backup plans are much easier when you're known.
This is you.
It is ideas for developing a good ISP, the individual support plan. So as I've already talked about, using that life course tools, that life course portfolio with a family advisor or an advisor team from the PA Family Network, that can be family to family, peer to peer, or that team mentoring that I just mentioned. You can hire a supports broker if you need more guidance on employer issues. So helpful if you are just getting started, or if you need additional information or guidance if you're struggling a little bit in that. And then you can also share everything with your supports coordinator and put it into the ISP. So your services and outcomes have to be in that ISP in order to be provided. So creating that vision for an everyday life, however it works for you, and capturing it in that ISP is really important to make sure that your loved one or you are supported in the way that you need. So make sure that community connections and resources are listed in your life course portfolio, and your supports coordinator has a copy, and make sure that you always keep a copy of your life course portfolio for yourself. And these opportunities come with responsibilities as well. And backup plans, like we said all along, are one of those responsibilities. So we hope that this has offered at least a few ideas to get you started and thinking about the ways to create that backup plan. And hopefully maybe some new connections as well. Gabe, you want to do this one?
Sure. Upcoming workshops on PD, participant direct services, participant direction, finding answers and supports. It's on Wednesday, September 20th, 12:30 to 2:30, or 6:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. And the registry link is there at www.visionforequality.org/events.
And that link again is clickable in the slides that were emailed to you this morning. If you did not receive that email, please check your spam folder, because sometimes it does end up in spam. And we thank you for joining us today. We do have a quick poll. If you don't mind answering that real quick, we would appreciate it. Gabe, if you could launch that for us. And then we definitely, if you are interested in speaking with a family advisor or an advisor team, please reach out to us. You can send us a chat or call 844-PA-FAMILY. Oh, I'm sorry, you can't send us a chat on this one. You can type it into the questions and answers and we will get back to you. And then someone will reach out to you from there, or you can call that 844-PA-FAMILY and be able to ask for mentoring with an advisor or an advisor team. We appreciate you being here with us tonight and hope that you learned something new and that you have a good rest of your night.